Everyone, I hope you're all well. Welcome to my channel. If you've not been here before, it's where I talk about twin flame process. So this video is for the full moon, which is in Aquarius, and that is on the 12th of July, tomorrow. That's in the UK. So the thing that they're telling me about this full moon is that it's about the expansion of the feminine into her higher consciousness, kind of moving away from the spiritual aspect. So it's going to feel like you are just becoming more. It's going to feel easier, like easier to be alive, kind of a thing, because of course your physical existence is your spiritual reason for being here. So, a lot of people come here and incarnate, and then they try and focus completely on a spiritual aspect and not on their physical lives. But of course, you're here to live this physical life. And so it's going to be like you're really thrown into your physical life, basically, in some way. So I do get a lot of challenges coming up for the feminine. And, that's going to be different for everybody. But it's going to be something very personal to you. It's going to be the expansion of you through, see, that's your spirituality is who you are physically. So, it's going to be like huge life lessons. You might even have them already come in at the beginning of August, because this full moon represents August. It's the only one we get in this month. So it's basically played out through the whole month. So you might have already had something turn up in your life that is something that's going to really challenge you to be alive, basically. Some kind of mastery is what they're saying around the feminine aspect, which of course is love. And it's those infinite expressions of love, which are the feminine terms of engagement in humanity, which is, like expansion of love, so compassion, I guess, and unconditional love, overwhelming love. You might be having a challenge in your life that's something that's overwhelming you emotionally. It could be feeling overwhelming to you, in that you're being expected to achieve mastery over this event. Anything that comes towards you in your life, whether that's a person or a situation or a way of, changing the way that you're existing, is always an event. So, and it's to shift you into more love, expansion of love through your human participation. So there will be, throughout the whole of this month, because of this moon, a lot of insights, a lot of points of understanding, because again, Aquarius, it's about understanding through the brain. So a lot of like aha moments in terms of like, oh, I see that. So whatever it is that you're being guided into mastery around, there's going to be a lot of aha moments around it, and a lot of up-leveling of knowledge, they're saying, in terms of whatever that is that you're coming into contact with in your own personal life that's about you achieving mastery. So like I say, it can't be just one thing, it's different for everybody. So just look at what it is in your life that's come in, that's new, that's a new challenge, a new opportunity for expansion around the mastery of being human in relation to the love aspect, basically, the feminine aspect. Also, just to say as well, because twin flame process is about coming into 0 point, which is a balance of masculine and feminine. So you're going to be dealing with that, Aquarius is a masculine sign, and it's really it's ego, it's mind driven. So there's going to be, you might find yourself going like strongly between the two things, like feeling like love or just overwhelming emotionally, and like this expansion of love, which is where there's no boundaries or no barriers to love, which is kind of overwhelming itself, right? This feeling of like love beyond all kind of boundaries, and then going from that and then into the masculine, which is the kind of withholding from love inside yourself. So maybe experiencing anger, resentment, frustration in terms of whatever it is that you're being asked to expand around. So just that as well, notice it's not all just the feminine of love. It's like, because the process is to balance, it's going to be like from one end to the other of the spectrum, masculine to feminine and back again. And maybe really intensely as well tomorrow, or wherever the moon is hitting you. I hope it's not hit already everywhere, but I didn't get a chance to do this sooner because I got my puppy, so we've been quite busy with that. So right, let's get some cards out and just have a look and see what the cards say about it. But that's really it in a nutshell. It's going to be like ups and downs this moon, and like I say, following on from that until it depletes, until the next new moon. It'll be like a bit of a roller coaster of ins and outs, masculine and feminine, the anger, resentment, and then the extreme love. There might be a lot of sadness coming up, a lot of crying. It's not in relation to your twin flame. It feels like this is set aside, and it's in relation to another event coming in that's leading you into like where you need to, how you're going to be like this, able to withstand extreme emotion, basically. So if you think about it, when you have your final reconciliation or the meeting with the twin flame, you're going to be someone who can withstand extreme emotion, because that event of that person coming in is probably the most extreme event you could have, especially if it's someone coming back, someone that you knew was going to come, someone that you've had those feelings for before. That's an extreme event. So it's like they're getting you ready for this extreme event where you will just be able to hold your vibration, basically, no matter what. So it's like you can feel emotion but still hold your vibration, basically. So that is how it's related to spirituality, because your vibrational self, of course, is your point of attraction, and that is what you are when you're also human, although you can't see it. But that is what you are. But everything about your humanness is kind of the organization around that, in terms of like understanding that beyond your physical aspect is a spiritual aspect. But being physical and managing that spiritual aspect, which is your vibration, although you've got all this stuff hitting the fan, which is like mental and emotional, which are the duality of the masculine and the feminine, the ego and the drive and the mentality, and the love and the feminine and the extreme emotions. So let's get these out. So we've got the King of Swords, which is the brain of the masculine. And then we've got brand new beginning, Ace of Pentacles. And we've got Six of Cups, which is reunion, and it's also that emotional event, reconciliation. Then we've got Fear, Seven of Swords coming out. I'm just going to get all the cards out because, like I said, I've got a puppy sleeping, so I want to just get this done before she wakes up. So Seven of Swords, and then we've got Ace of Swords there right in the middle. So it's all about the brain. I mean, this really represents Aquarius, the Ace of Swords. It's like the magnitude of the brain. It's like what goes through your head, the magnitude of all of that, your thought processes. And this is related to this expansion that we've got going on through your physical aspect that is in some way changing you during this moon. Hierophant, which is relationship, and it's major arcana coming out. So it's about, this is when we move into, so it's about moving into relationship. There's fear there, so moving through fear into relationship, through what goes on in the brain, related to the masculine brain as well there. Brand new beginning in the physical, and this is also, it's reconciliation, it's reunion, it's inner child work. So it's about growing up. Aquarius is a really grown up sign. It's a really adult sign. It's mastery of the mind, basically. And if you think about when children have tantrums, they're led by their emotions. They don't have mastery yet. They don't really have that free will because they're not able to speak a lot. When you're very young, you can't speak and you can't say what you need, and you can't say how you feel, and you can't, so you don't have any control over anything of, it's all like going on around you. So it's something around that, like the mastery of your inner child as well. Let's get these out. And then we've got struggle and change here in the Five of Wands. So there's a change coming in through whatever it is that you're going to go through. because of this Aquarian moon and the expansion of that this month. And then we've got healing, Knight of Pentacles. So healing in the physical, getting ready for a new beginning there, and the Ace of Pentacles. So what this is all, everything is healing. So that just goes without saying, anything that you go through is healing, right? But this moon is about it healing through the brain, basically, in terms of communication, in terms of like, it feels like it's about getting it right somehow. It's kind of about being able to be sign things off on the dotted line, they're saying. So kind of know yourself a little bit better, basically. So coming into your physicalness more, coming into knowing who you are more, like all aspects of yourself. Because, you know, everybody when they're human has got the emotions and the mentality. So we've all got the propensity to like feel things and to have like strange moods, you know, strange goings on, like ups and downs. Like I said, roller coaster, like good mood 1 minute, bad mood another minute, anger 1 minute, happiness the next. And there's something going on here which is around kind of coming into understanding inside of self of all of that you are, in terms of that humanness and the expansion of that in terms of your vibrational self, bringing you into alignment with just the understanding of managing all of that, right? It's the management of you. So, and then we've got ending 10 of Wands down here, which of course is what is also expansion vibrationally. So we've got expansion going on through what's going on here. Masculine brain, the brain here, the Aquarian moon, and expansion through that. So of course you're connecting mentally. So how you go about being human, your business of being human, how you think and how you feel as the feminine, is reflected back into the masculine through the connection in the vibration, how they think, how they feel. And in terms of that, how they manage themselves. So you having this, whatever this issue, that's just a controversial. So whatever it is that comes to you this month that's like a controversial kind of event that you have to deal with, is going to be bringing you into better management of self, which in turn is going to be bringing the masculine into better management of themselves. So it's getting you both ready basically for what is next, which is here, which is relationship, overcoming all fear. So if you think like the scariest thing of all, right, is your own self, because the scariest thing is like your triggers. It's like once you know this triggers me, that triggers me, I can go off like a rocket when this happens. If you know yourself, right, self-awareness, that is so involved in the work of being who you are right now. It's got nothing to do with this like fake spirituality, which is like, I never get angry, I'm a really spiritual person, I never deviate from that, you know, this spiritual persona that I have. I never get angry, I never get sad, I never get worried, I never get fearful. I am like, you know, God, basically. But God is your vibrational self. So that's all that is. It's your point of attraction. As a human, you get everything, right? You get overwhelmment, you get anger, you get sadness, you get grief, you get absolutely crazy, mad angry sometimes. It's like, and that is knowing thyself, is like owning all of that, right? And seeing it inside self and just being aware of it. And then because of that, being able to manage it more. So taking yourself out of, it's like if you got angry around somebody and you knew you were going to get you really angry and you wanted to shout and scream, instead of doing the shouting and screaming, taking yourself up into another room and like removing yourself like you would with a child, right? If a child's having a tantrum, you take them quietly to a quiet place, right? And you learn to calm them down. And I'll just tell you about my puppy. We've had this weird thing because she's teething, so she's getting she works herself up. She's like, she has playtime and then she gets overwrought like a toddler, and she has to have time out. And I didn't know before I had a puppy this time, because I had dogs before but not puppies. Oh, I did have a puppy, but it was whatever. Stop going on, Hazel. So that puppies calm themselves down by chewing, and also when they're teething, the chewing calms them down, and also the having her ears rubbed calms her down. So I give her something to chew, and she and then I rub her ears for her. So it's kind of like the management technique, you know, me managing her when she gets overwrought, but then learning that there are techniques, right, to manage yourself when you get overwrought, basically, because we've all got that inner child that can come up when we get stressed, that can throw a tantrum. So it's just learning to manage this. By the feminine managing it, it's helping the masculine. So that's what they were telling me. Oh, look, the moon is underneath. So it's all about that, right? And this is communication, just really strong communication. So it's about how you relate to yourself and the unseen parts of self. This is the unconscious, as well as the moon, the subconscious, all of that. This is the brain, subconscious brain, and just learning to kind of manage it, having maybe coming up with new techniques with yourself. Maybe it's just as simple with some people as like not overthinking. I mean, that's the one that people often don't even know that they do. It's like the like crazy overthinking when something comes up, you know. So just see what it is for you anyway. You know, people get triggered into overthinking, and then they're thinking and they're thinking, and they get more overwrought, and more worries are coming up, and more fears, and then more. But what if this, and what if that, and what if this? You see, and all of that is being healed. Brain, you're beginning physical healing here. Let's get another one out on all of these. Clarity. So, like I said, there's going to be points of clarity around just aha moments around who you are and how you manage yourself and how you are, how you think, and what it is to be you, and the functionality of you, and getting to know you more, and coming into that adult self more by getting to know oneself more and understanding. You know, there's things like getting hangry. I mean, I know that if I don't eat if I'm not satiated, if I haven't eaten at the right time or for the right amount of food, I can get hangry. And that's like a thing that children get, right? They get angry, they get upset because they're hungry. But you know, I didn't know I got hangry until until one day I was angry and I ate something and I calmed down. And I was like, oh my god, I was hangry. So it's like things like that. It's like managing your own triggers, basically, because sometimes those triggers can be calmed down by things that are out there in the environment, like food. Or self-soothing, you know, sucking on a dummy or having a glass of wine. I don't know. Right, let's go underneath. We've got movement of energy. So moving through this moon, like I said, I feel like that just means the whole month, really, like energetically moving through this moon. It's quite a profound and engaged moon, you know. It's not one where we're like asked to like where we get taken out of the game and we're asked to kind of like, oh, just, you know, go with the flow, let go, have a nap. This is more a kind of like, no, intense work on self, like being one's own therapist, basically, and seeing where one's the aspects of your mentality and your emotionality exist within you, and having that all come up in some way for you to see it again, maybe, even if you've seen it before. There's a lot of rinse and repeat in this process. Right, so, and then we've got the Two of Swords coming out, so it's ego and it's heart, basically, coming out on the masculine. So it's basically management of self because it's management of the masculine. Because nothing in this is why it's like rinse, repeat, this process. So you think you're fine, right, and everything's done and all your work's done and you're feeling like equilibrium and 0 point and absolutely on point in vibrational self, point of attraction. And then it's just like all this stuff comes up again because you're going through it all again, because you have to go through it all again, even more intensely, because it's about their management of self. 10 of Wands down here. And then we've got happiness, right? So whatever it is at the end of the month, we're going to come into more happiness. So everything, all will pass, basically. What is it? What is it that they say? This too will pass. It's that kind of thing, right? At the end of the month, it's like it'll all be over, and you'll be like, oh God, what was all that about? All that craziness that I had to go through. Because it's about learning. That's why. 6 of Cups, divine love. So this is again, it's like the child aspect in the 2 and the 6 of cups, and then it's the adults, the sexual love in the lovers. So, and with both 6, it's a higher aspect, the lovers of the 6 of cups, basically. So that's it. It's about growing up. So you can have this relationship that is the biggest. What's the biggest trigger known to man? Sex. That's the biggest trigger, right? Even if you think it's not. It's like people can say, oh, I'm not going to fall in love. I'm not going to get attached. As soon as you have sex with someone, and it can be someone you don't even like, you still get attached to them because you've had sex with them. So it's like this, but imagine that with your twin flame, that overwhelming, that chemistry that is there in that connection. So it's about getting ready for this, basically. And then let's go here on the 5 of Wands, completion. Again, this is like shaking things up, right? 5 of Wands, it's change. It's things not being accurate vibrationally as well. Complete chaos in the vibration. But it's about shake up in the vibration because it has to be. And this is completion of that. So again, just like the month ends and it's complete, so it's not going on forever, whatever it is. It's a work in progress. Ace of Pentacles, let go. So we do have some letting go. It's a letting go through the mind. So anything that comes up that is worry will dissipate. So it'll be like you might feel filled with fear and worry about something or other that you're being challenged with. And then by the end of the month, it'll be like, oh, what was I worrying about? There was nothing to worry about. And of course, you've always got to say to yourself, there's nothing to worry about. So don't cling on to your worries, because if you cling on to worries, you just carry on perpetrating them. So whenever you've got worries coming up, you have to just be your broader perspective and your higher self in relation to that and say, no, that's worry. So I'm worrying. I know I'm worrying about something, but honestly, I know I've got nothing to worry about. So let's just try and move beyond that and don't get hooked into that. No, I've got to worry about this kind of human thing, because no, you don't. That's what the spirituality is, you see, whilst you're human, is knowing that you don't have to worry if you don't want to, because things are going to turn out. Your eventualities that are enlightened and come from your vibrational self, your accuracy where your vibration is coming from not worrying. So that's the spirituality, right? It's to choosing not to worry, or noticing you're worrying and then saying, well, I'm going to move as far away from that worry as I can, because I know that's not point of attraction. All right, so we got that there, and from that a new beginning comes, and then healing, Knight of Pentacles. That's not my dog barking, by the way, that's Ralphie next door. Okay, the Magician. So got manifestation and all that you need. So all the tools at your disposal, mastery basically. Again, another brand new beginning, a number 1, and healing. So we're healing through this month and becoming ready, basically. And this is also the higher aspect of the masculine. So getting the masculine ready, everything in alignment, ready for manifestation. 7 of Swords. And then we've got Chariot coming out on that, which is 2 sevens. They're both 7s again. And this is about lessons, 7s. And this is about management of fear. And this is about, again, masculine and feminine. And the whole self, right? And the whole self, when you're on twin flame, going through twin flame process, is you and the other person. So you are one. And that whole self is encased in this whole process and the lessons of the process. And the lessons are always the moving through fear and just becoming stronger. This is also the Merkaba, so the soul self, the spiritual self, the vibrational self, and the strength of that, that is beyond the human, but was within the human. So it's really about management. They just showed me someone like kind of walking on water. So it's that kind of like being alive, but not being ruffled by anything and not being curtailed, they just said, which is like cut off, like stopped, right? And so it's going to be like you come into this position where you're not bothered by your own emotions and you're not bothered by your own mental aspects and you're not phased by anything. They just said not phased. So not phased, you could do anything. You could do anything could come along in your life, and you would handle it, and you would manage it, and you would be competent, and you would trust yourself, and you would know yourself in relation to whatever that challenge was that came along. And of course, the ultimate challenge here, Hierophant, relationship. And that's what all this process is about, right? For the feminine, is the management of relationship, basically. So just to say, just look at it this way as well, because where you see people that are in relationship a lot of the time, and those people are having really strong relationships that don't go out, like twin flame uh, connections come in. If they come in and you are with that person, then they go out, because it's not, because these twin flames are really empathic, really sensitive individuals. They're not, and when you are unaware of your own self, that causes a lot of fluctuation in your vibration. It's almost like you leave, you're not attached to your point of attraction. It's like you're kind of held back from it, your point of attraction, because if you see energy, right, and it's like a movement of energy, it's like you just can't stabilize, because you're so sensitive and so empathic, and you're always like reading the feelings around you, and more like not connected to your own core, but just reading the feelings around you and being very aware of other people, and how they're responding to you and how they feel about you and all that kind of stuff. And then if you look at the people that do have long lived relationships that aren't going through twin flame process, a lot of them aren't sensitive. They're not, and that's how the relationship is managed, because they're not outside of themselves. They're very confident and very inside themselves, very just like strong, and oh no, of course I can have this relationship, because of course, why wouldn't I? Because there's no reason why I shouldn't, because it's all got to be for me. So you could even say at the most extreme of that is narcissism, right, where it's just completely oblivious to anybody else's like feelings, and a lot of people, narcissism is a spectrum. People in relationships are very like A-type and high up on that spectrum, where they're just like, no, I'm just going to have this relationship. I don't have to think about that person's feelings or read the room or anything like that, right? So but twin flames aren't like that. So it's about coming into the management of self, which is the management, therefore, of being able to have a relationship with somebody else, because you're not going to be constantly in this state of vibrational fluctuation, because you're reading the room of which is that person that you're with, right? And then we got Queen of Cups coming out. So go with the flow. So that just basically is saying, just go with the flow with whatever comes in this month. Just go with it. Right? Just know that it's taking you to where you need to go, as in it's becoming you who you're going to become, where you're going to be ready for this relationship to come in. So that's everything. This is just like, you might as well hang this sign on your door, like a do not disturb, like it's there permanently. Just go with the flow with whatever comes in, because it's getting you to where you need to go. So nothing is, ever ended in terms of process until you've got to where you're going to get to at the end of the process. So you never hang up your hat, you can never say, oh, I'm done, until you're done. And you don't know when you're going to be done until you're done. Right? So I see it in the comments a lot, and I'm not going to go at anyone, because I know what it's like. I go through this. But you just, when you feel like you need to like say to yourself, I know you want to identify what it is, right? The culprit that's making you feel so bad. So you want to like lock it down, and you want to say, this is what it is that's making me feel bad, that I don't like, that's making it uncomfortable to be here in a physical existence. And if I can just say that, and I'll nail it this time with what I'm going to say that it is, then that's going to change everything and make it all right and end it. But in fact, it doesn't, because it doesn't come from the ego. So you could every month have a different reason for you thinking what would make you feel better and why you're feeling bad. And a lot of that, if you're looking at the connection with a specific person, it could be, oh, they said this, they did that, and then they left, and it never got to this, and we never had that, and all these reasons. And then you can have another month, you can have it being like, and then I'm glad that it ended, because now I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to feel better, and then And then you have the next month, we're like, well, I wish they'd just come back, because if they came back, then I could feel better. And why did they leave? It's like, and that egoic aspect, you just go through the whole process with that coming and going, that masculine energy coming and going inside of you, trying to come to conclusion, but it can't, because it's egoic. So the only thing that you can know, right, is that you just move through that egoic aspect. So it's like you're leaving your words behind continually, like a trail behind you. All your everything, all your thoughts, all your words, just know that, because it's like you're going to say something next time, right? You're always going to say something. We all say something. I was just upstairs now making my bed saying, I don't want this life. I don't want this life. It was all just coming up again. Just like I wanted a different life. And I know that now. And it's like, it's I know that comes up in me. And the moaning and the complaining still comes up when the masculine comes up, especially at moons. And this moon, it feels like I'm torn inside, torn apart. It feels like I'm being pulled apart through the aspect of masculine and feminine. And the kind of this illusion, right, of being something. It's like I can't get a grip on my self, right? So I know something's shifting, because I can't find myself within the masculine and feminine, the process. I've honestly just been walking around the house all day just going like, what am I supposed to be doing now? What am I doing? And I can't get in to like the functionality of my life. And there's it's like I should be doing something. What am I supposed to be doing? And it's just weird. All right, so something's about to hit the fan. Shit hitting the fan, as always, in terms of like a huge awakening that's coming through this, because it's like you're taken offline mentally, right? Because you can't get into your brain, and you can't do those simple things like you're walking into one room, and then you're like, what did I come in here for again? So it's going to be a little bit like that as well, I think, just over this today, tomorrow, the next day maybe, in the actual moon portal. And then all this work coming in, like they've just said, all this like management of self. So, yeah, and maybe going in and out of that as well. So it's like you have a huge awakening of a like, oh, I see. Okay, that's something. You get because the Aquarius as well, it's like the brain, but it's like through source, right? So it's claircognizance. So, and that means shutting off the thinking aspect. You get claircognizance where you're not actually thinking anymore, because your thinking is the ego that just interferes with receiving. So, so it feels like it's kind of shutting down the brain somewhat so that you can receive. And that's maybe why it's the like going from one room to another. We're like, why was I here again? And or like making the bed like I just was, going, why am I here again? Like completely, why am I here again? Like, why was I born again? So, just see what comes up. But anyway, it's a huge influx of energy through the brain. It's getting you ready, and it's going to be empowering. They just said empowering. There's a lot of empowerment coming through in terms of like who you become by the end of this month, and how you feel about things, in terms of how you're able to cope with things and take on challenges and take on board huge life changes in your stride. Again, that Queen of Cups, it's like just taking things in the stride. It's not like, the ego always wants to get up in front of things. It always wants to be in charge. It always wants to get ahead of things. The ego, it always wants to have a plan. It's like the ego, that's what I was saying, you're saying like, I could just feel all right if this, and this. But the thing is, it's like the ego doesn't know. So it doesn't matter what plan you make through the ego. You could say, right, I'm going to go over here, live over there. I'm going to do that for 5 years. And then I'm going to move here for another 7 years. And then I'm going to go over there. And you could do all that. You could spend a hell of a lot of time planning it, arranging it. And then out of the blue, something comes out of left field. And it's like, oh no, I'm going over there. So it's like the management is not the making the plan and the thinking where you're going. The management is the being ready to move when something comes in, the opportunity comes in, and to just go with that. And that is going with the flow, right? And that's how it, and just go with it, even if it's something. There was that time I said before that I had my train, I missed my train and I had to get on another train and go all the way in another direction. And they'd already said to me that I'd be going to New Mexico on this train. And I just knew, because they'd said go with the flow, New Mexico, that it was fine. I shouldn't be freaking out about it. So just know everything that happens is meant to happen, basically. So if there's a sudden change of plan, then there's a sudden change of plan that's meant to happen. It's leading you somewhere where you're meant to go. It might not be where you end up, it might just be a diversion, but still, it's still meant to happen. Just that kind of thing, right? So that's just, and don't let your ego try and make you think that it knows best, because it never does. It never does. It doesn't know shit, basically. And that's it. I'm going to go now. Lots of love. Hope you have a lovely moon and the rest of the month. And I'll come back with some monthlies. I don't think I did any this month. I'm not going to, because I've got my puppy. I don't really have time. She's already waking up, so I'm going to go. Any readings anybody wants? All the details in the description box below. Lots of love. Bye.